In this episode of Motorsport Recently, we talk about the NASCAR silly season, Alex Zanardi and the Super GT DTM crossover, McLaren's engine supplier for 2021, and more. This is Triple Crown Racing. Let's get into it. Hello everybody and welcome along to Motorsport Recently. My name is Jack McKenzie and joining me on the mic are my usual partners in crime, the wonderful Chris Whitfield and Caitlin Penny commentary. We apologise for starting 10 minutes late. We were talking about Volvos. Anyway, we have some very interesting news for you interesting news for you this week. We'll be talking about, we actually have some Super GT and DTM news. We have some rally news for the first time. That's the first time that'll ever have made the feature stories. We have some NASCAR silly season news, which is really rather interesting. We have some Formula One news, and also your regular segment, miscellaneous stories and points that we will have missed, and we'll be covering at the end of the show. So, guys, welcome along.
Thank you very much, Jack. It's good to be here once again.
Happy birthday to me on Tuesday.
Oh, happy birthday to you then.
On
Almost
Tuesday.
birthday.
Not his
Tuesday,
birthday.
okay.
Don't celebrate too soon. Learn from who was that? Was it Russo? Yeah. Don't celebrate too soon. Don't be a Russo.
Well, I won't be
Right.
that.
Excuse me if I'm unmuted. That's good. I was just checking that. Sorry. Should we get into our first segment of the day, which is Red Line Headlines?
I genuinely have not even thought about jingles yet.
Oh yes.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Jingle. Come on, jingle. Load faster. Do it. Here we go.
Red line headlines.
Red light, you know you wanna. You know you wanna. Headline. It's red line headline. It's red line headlines. Please do not copyright us, owners of that song. Anyway, moving on to red line headlines. It's Chris who takes this, isn't it? I'm gonna get it right this week.
It is.
Sure, Chris, take it away.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for your red line headlines for September 28th or 29th if you're in Australia. And we start with the first ever S5000 race from glorious Sandown. Tim Macro and James Golding became the first winners of the inaugural race of the Australian S5000 Championship. Golding won both the second qualifying race and the shortened, due to Alex Davison's enormous crash, feature race, while Macro won the first ever qualifying race. Turning to Formula One, Sebastian Vettel claimed his first victory under the lights in the Grand Prix of Singapore. It's the first victory for the German since the Belgian Grand Prix in August 2018. And finally, in IndyCar, Colton Herta dominated the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey, the exciting season finale to the NTT Data IndyCar Series, holding off a charging Will Power in the closing laps to claim his second victory of the 2019 season. Joseph Newgarden, however, did everything he needed to do to seal his second IndyCar championship with an 8th place finish on Sunday. And that is your Redline headlines for September 28th stroke 29th of 2019. On to you guys.
Right, so I think we should start with S5000 first of all, and well, I have a couple of things to say first. First of all, one day I'm going to pull an Uno reverse card on you, Caitlin, and say that no, it's actually me who does this segment. But and then secondly, this is the first time I've actually put the date for everywhere else in the world on the episode, except for, instead of Australia. So it actually displays the 28th of September on YouTube. However, I'll probably change that later. And S5000, well, races were quite interesting. It was a good start to the championship, and it definitely shows potential. However, because of all the safety cars in the feature race, I felt a bit shortchanged because I took the time out of the day to go and watch the feature race. Well, not to go and watch the feature race. I watched it from the comfort of my own home. The race was, of course, shortened. I mean, that's understandable because the barrier had been caved in by Davison's crash. But even still, before that, there was so many safety cars. And I think the problem is that the cars, they lose a lot of temperature when they're under safety cars. So when they just go back to green, they're completely and that just breeds more and more safety cars, and that's a bit of a problem. That might be something they need to address.
Yeah, they did seem to just slither off, didn't they? Especially a few of the top drivers as well. I was really annoyed, however, that there were no points awarded for the feature race, because if there had been, Rubens Barrichello would be in the top 3 in the championship right now, and that's annoying me.
I actually think
so. Good job from Barrichello to be P4.
And he's and at the moment they're actually trying to court other top drivers to race in S5000. I have to say, having seen the feature race, yes, it was shortened, but you got to keep in mind the car held up so that Davison could walk away from his crash, because that was a monster wreck. Secondly, the on-track product. I was watching the highlights of the 2 qualifying races, and the on-track product is absolutely excellent. Like, it's excellent on-track product. Like, I look forward to seeing like a full championship of the maybe with Bathurst being the finale.
I mean, it was
Warby, make it happen.
It was a pretty it was pretty good on track action for a startup series in the first race. In the startup series, I mean, obviously it's not up to the standard of your IndyCar or whatever it might be, but then again, this is the first race, so they'll be working out, you know, they'll see how these cars race, and they'll probably make some changes to them. And if you're interested, the next race for the S5000s is at the Bend Motorsport Park from the 15th to the 17th of November 2019. And with that, I think we should talk about some Formula One.
Where do we start?
Where do we start? Caitlin, do you have anywhere to start us off from?
So, firstly, I suppose you have the strategy call for Ferrari. It was very controversial. What effectively happened is Sebastian Vettel pitted before Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc to get onto those softer tyres sooner. It worked for him. He got the undercut. He jumped ahead of both of them, and then didn't have to worry about his tyres going off later on because of the number of safety cars that they had. In my opinion, it was a gamble, although a lot of people say that it was just too perfect and that Ferrari had swapped them by team orders. I personally think that that's nonsense in this situation, because if you think about it, Vettel is in 3rd place before this all kicks off. his focus, or the team's focus, will be getting the Ferraris to 1-2, jumping Hamilton. Vettel and Leclerc was so close when they came out of the pits that difference was the difference that Vettel had made up on the previous lap. Ferrari could not have predicted that he was going to be so quick on the previous lap. And keep in mind as well that not just did they only intend him to jump Lewis, but also his tyres probably wouldn't have lasted and let him hold off Leclerc and Hamilton without that number of safety cars, so it was a real gamble, and I suppose he just has himself and chance, but you know, all races have chance and strategy to thank as well. But no, you have to say, Sebastian Vettel did excellently and deserves the win, in my opinion.
He does deserve the win, but I have been thinking about something, and I had this sort of weird feeling after the race finished. I mean, undoubtedly, Sebastian Vettel is kind of in the twilight of his career, and it's not been. And I just had this weird feeling that this could be his last race win ever.
Judging by
I wouldn't
Ferrari's,
say that.
I was going to say, judging by Ferrari's current form, I think they definitely can win again this year. I think it is more likely to be Leclerc who wins than Vettel. But you know, if it can happen at Singapore, it can happen. It can happen at other tracks as well. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Vettel winning tomorrow. It's probably not his last win. Of course, I can't guarantee that it won't be, but I don't feel like it is.
And one thing actually that there were two other takeaways that I got out of it.
You got
One
takeaways?
was, well, no, I ordered in, but my Uber Eats is here. No, the strategy call that Alfa Romeo Giovinazzi, that was bold.
That was bold.
I'll tell you, like, I haven't seen a strategy call like that for a smaller team, like, in quite some time, and of course...
Well, it's because it was Singapore. They were waiting for a safety car or a virtual safety car to dive into the pits then and not lose much time, and that's why they left him out for so long. And I suppose you could say that it ended up working because he ended up finishing P10. He'd qualified P11. I'd say that's, you know, at worst that's you know, it didn't make much difference. So I'd say that they did a good job there, and to be honest, if I was in their position, I probably would have tried to do the same thing, because after all, they've got nothing to lose. Might as well hope for a well-timed safety car.
I've had an idea.
Have you?
Yes, I have.
What is your idea,
I think
Jack?
Before this, I think that Formula One should make the pit stops non-mandatory, and I think this would. And then you also, what you should do is you should extend the life of like the medium and the hard tire, and then just leave the soft tire at the length that it's at. And hear me out here. So what you would have is you have a choice, right? So you'd have the option to extend the hard tire throughout the whole distance of the race or some of the distance of the race. And if you think that, and that could potentially be quicker than changing onto the soft tires and making pit stops. However, you then have to account for the wear and say, hold on, are our tires going to last the entire distance? And is the car actually going to be drivable for that long? So I think you'd see more bold strategy moves like we saw Alfa Romeo doing.
Jack,
Well,
this happened before.
I was going to say, that's very much
And
like it's very much like what we had back in the 1980s. And it didn't really work, I suppose. Like, you know, there was a very different dynamic in Formula One as a whole back then. But to be honest, I think we'd probably end up with pretty much everyone going for the same strategy, and because these days we have so much better, like, they can calculate the race so much better, and I don't know, I can't see anyone really doing anything dramatic. I think that what we have now with, absolutely having to take different tire compounds, that probably promotes strategy more than leaving the tire rules open would do.
And also, remember we had this kind of thing with no like mandatory stops before in 2005.
Did we?
Remember how that turned out when we got to Indianapolis, staying on the same tire.
That wasn't a lack of mandatory stops. Wait, was it? I'm not sure.
No.
They couldn't make it to the end on their fuel load, so I'm pretty sure they did pit every time.
I think it was because was it the Bridgestone tires couldn't? Well, they just weren't lasting.
Yeah.
No, it was actually because Michelin, the Indianapolis debacle.
Hello, guys.
Oh, I think as Chris just
Yeah, I think Chris is just disconnected or something.
Chris is
Oh,
well.
sorry, we just suddenly stopped hearing you there. Well, we all know how the 2005 debacle was caused, but whatever I don't think that would happen again. What that was teams not being allowed to change tires during the race, and I think that's very, very different indeed. So yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. I just
It was one of the worst rules that I've seen anyway.
Yeah.
And also, the last takeaway I have to do is, and I cannot believe I have to say this again. 2 words. Team orders.
You think it was team orders at Ferrari?
No, I'm referring, of course, to Valtteri. It's James coming back.
Oh, okay. To be honest, I understand why Mercedes did that. Yeah, it's team orders, but let's face it, if they'd come out in that order with Valtteri ahead of Lewis, there was
Lewis
no way.
would have whined on the race.
Well, yeah, and there's no way that they would have got past Verstappen, and I know they didn't get past Verstappen anyway, but they absolutely wouldn't have done had Valtteri got through. No disrespect to Valtteri, he's very good, but yeah, I don't know. I understand why Mercedes did it. I also understand whenever Ferrari does it, but it's a bit annoying, but I suppose since they weren't like fighting for a win or anything, it's not too inexcusable.
I'm gonna go on record as saying I hate team orders.
Okay.
But always hated. And actually, one guy recently just uploaded the 2002 Austrian Grand Prix, which saw the most sickening show of team orders by Ferrari.
Totally. Okay.
When they forced Rubens Barrichello to, duck out of the way.
Now, that one was ridiculous and should never have happened. Yeah, I have to admit, things like that are completely, they are immoral. That's what that was.
There were people calling for a ban in team orders then. People should be calling for team order bans now.
It doesn't work. Banning team orders doesn't work because
you can't police it.
Yeah, team orders are always going to be a part of Formula One because, team orders take many forms. They could even be to do with who the team employs. Like, for example, how Mercedes have kept Bottas solely because they know well, apart from the fact that Toto Wolff manages Bottas, they know that he can't fight Lewis. They know that they're not going to have any collisions, and that's why they've kept him on board.
And
Move on to IndyCar.
Sorry, yeah.
yes, before we go into a giant rant about team orders.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness.
You saved Jack Deerhart. You've saved us.
Yes.
IndyCar. First of all, Colton Herta.
Yes, I was gonna say, he is such a mature young driver, and he just drives no mistakes, just absolutely perfect. That's fantastic that he's picked himself up another win. A little bit of a shame, I think, for somebody who's won 2 races that he didn't win Rookie of the Year. However, he wasn't quite as consistent as Felix Rosenqvist. But Laguna Seca and the Circuit of the Americas shows that Colton Herta will almost certainly be a future champion. I'm sure that an Indy 500 will eventually come his way as well.
And also, Felix Rosenqvist is very easy to talk to, as we found out. Right, Caitlin?
Oh, yeah, sure. No, he was great.
And, and, like, the thing about Colton Herta is, it seems that Laguna Seca and, the Herta family are basically, like intertwined, because, of course, Brian won twice there. In kart.
They won an endurance race.
98, 99.
Yeah, they won an endurance race as a father-son duo at Laguna.
Yeah, they won the California 8-hour in a Hyundai.
That's wonderful.
They won the TCR class in the in a Hyundai. I think it was an i30. In an i30N TCR, but I will say, genuinely, Colton Herta is going to be a force to be reckoned with. If they can get the reliability sorted, he'll be a contender for sure.
Isn't the partnership with Andretti becoming more of a significant one in 2020?
Yes. It's actually technically a 5th car under their stable.
So that will probably fix the reliability issues, which means Colton will have a better car to work with, which almost guarantees at least a few race wins next year, because he's a driver like him and great equipment. That's no bad thing. Now we should move on to the championship, because Joseph Newgarden, he's done it again.
Yep, it seemed basically like a foregone conclusion that Joseph was going to win the championship, but it seemed like ever since Pocono, the bottom fell out of Alexander Rossi's title hopes.
It fell out of the bottom of everyone's title hopes.
Well, because he faded. He actually came in second in points. He left third. He left third to Pagano. But I will say, what are your guys' thoughts on the season this year?
Season was absolutely superb.
I wish that I could have seen more of it, but stupid not showing it anymore on YouTube.
Well, and the good thing is, for me, that Fox Sports, instead of doing the stupid 1-hour highlights thing they do on Tuesday, they showed the entirety of the Laguna Seca race live.
Oh, come on.
Excellent.
Yes. Okay, we get 2 full races a year. We get the Indy 500, and it looks like we're going to get the title fight at Laguna Seca. But hopefully that'll change for next year. I really, really want them to give the rights back to ESPN, because that was really good. I like the ESPN coverage that we got down here. That was absolutely superb. And I think
start uploading their full races to YouTube again, because then I can see it. But
the highlights are good though. If you want to see the highlights show pretty much all the good parts of the race. So if you want to know what happens in the race, I do very much recommend watching one of the highlights that either Motorsport on NBC has or the ones on the IndyCar YouTube channel. But yeah, I think the reason why Alexander Rossi left Laguna Seca in third place is the strategy didn't really work out for Andretti. Because if you saw towards the end of his stints, he was losing spots because that car was almost undrivable.
Yeah, and it also didn't help when who was it that just center punched him going into 4? Was that that Pagenaud?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, Pagenaud just center punched him. Just punted him off the circuit. But I will say, this entire season, I'm kind of sad to see it end, in all honesty, and it was one of the... Honestly, like, you can't say that was a dull season, because it certainly was not. That was I think that was one of the best IndyCar seasons in quite some time.
Yeah.
In fact, it was also great to see it live in Toronto.
It was great to see. Oh yeah, you saw it live in Toronto, didn't you?
I never saw a dull race the entire year.
IndyCar doesn't really produce dull races. I mean, there are of course moments where nothing happens, but overall the races aren't dull. Anyway, we'll probably leave the discussion about the IndyCar season until our IndyCar season review, which I'll probably write and make or something. I'm not sure if you guys want to get involved in making that, but it will probably happen if I can put it together. Anyway, right, I think on that note, we should move on to our feature stories.
Yes. Starting with NASCAR. And the worst kept secret in the garage area during silly season has been finally revealed. As expected, Christopher Bell will be behind the wheel of the Levine Family Racing 95 Toyota for the 2020 season. Matt DiBenedetto was let go from the team a few weeks ago before the Bristol race, but a spot was opened up at Wood Brothers Racing for the retiring Paul Menard. 2020 will be Bell's first Cup Series campaign. For the past 3 years, he competed in the number 20 Gibbs Toyota in the Xfinity Series. While he was unable to win a championship yet, he's still won multiple races and has proven himself to be one of the most talented drivers in the Xfinity Series. And
that was to be
honestly,
expected.
Yeah, and I want to be wrong, but I think he's peaked in Xfinity.
Perhaps. I mean, you never know.
And never mind. I'll let you see the highlights of what I just saw. But let's just say it involves Christopher Bell.
Okay, we'll try and keep spoilers for the Xfinity race at the Roval to a minimum. Shall I talk about the next story that we have in NASCAR?
Yes, sir.
Right, Wrecky Stenhouse Jr. will be replaced by Chris Buescher at Roush Fenway in 2020. Stenhouse has been racing with Roush Fenway since 2012 and has managed 2 wins with the team. However, Stenhouse has gained a reputation for crashing, hence why some fans have bestowed upon him the nickname Wrecky Stenhouse. Stenhouse's affinity with the barriers and the fact that he is being consistently beaten by his teammate Ryan Newman are perhaps some of the reasons why he is being dropped by the team. Buescher has been competing in the Cup Series since 2015 and is currently racing with JTJ Doherty Racing. After nearly 11 years in the Cup Series, the team has only been able to rack up one race win, and its cars mainly dwell towards the back of the field. Despite this, Buescher is actually beating Stenhouse in the championship, despite Stenhouse driving in superior equipment. Rather obviously, Wrecky Stenhouse Jr. is being replaced because he's been, and considering that Chris Buescher's outperforming him in equipment that's nowhere near as good, it really says something, and that does make sense.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't really see him being in a Cup Series ride next year. I really don't, because he's managed to burn a lot of bridges, and
do you think Chris Buescher will be not Chris Buescher, Wrecky Stenhouse Jr. will be anywhere next year?
probably dirt, because he does run USAC sprint cars, but if he can't run in USAC, well, he's gonna run in USAC, but if he can't get a Cup ride, then he'll probably get a he'll probably be somewhere, but unfortunately, the Stenhouse has good equipment, but has not been driving has not been proving that he belongs in the sport, honestly, and I don't see him getting a top Cup ride. Maybe like a front row or something, but maybe like a front row motorsport. But yeah, I don't see it.
Well, I mean, I think there's not really a lot of hope for that. Should we move on to the DTMs and Super GT news that we have?
Yes, and it's about, well...
Yes. Alex Zanardi will be participating in the Super GT DTM joint race at Fuji Speedway later in the year with BMW.
Yeah,
We don't need to talk about Zanardi's story, as everyone already knows that it's one of the most incredible and inspiring stories in motorsport. The driving controls in Zanardi's BMW M4 DTM will be the same as the ones that we used earlier in the year at the Rolex 24. The steering wheel will feature an accelerator ring, and the brakes will be operated by a lever. This will be Zanardi's second outing and third race in DTM after racing at Misano last year. It's absolutely incredible. It's awesome that Zanardi keeps getting drives like these, and he
finished fifth. Keep in mind, when he raced in Misano last year, he finished fifth in DTM.
That's a very respectable result, actually, for fifth place in DTM.
That's why he's going to drive, yeah.
Yeah, it's why he's going to drive.
Can I just say,
exactly.
I am definitely genuinely looking forward to that to the crossover race, because, well, that's fantastic. Show of hands here, chat. Who's looking forward to the DTM Super GT race at Fuji?
I would put my hand up, but I think you failed to realize the problem of raising hands in a chat. That
I've just raises my hand.
As well. My only issue is who's actually going to be covering the Super GT DTM crossover race. I really hope it's not Motorsport TV.
I'm not sure who's covering it, but I can say is...
Yeah, I just hope that I can see it.
Yeah.
All I can say is this. Alex Zanardi. The man's a unit.
Yes.
The man is an absolute unit.
Yes.
I'm convinced that he is a... I'm convinced that he's Superman.
Superman. Also, I should mention Zanardi is the first of BMW's 3 drivers to be confirmed for the Super GT DCM crossover. Also, Aston Martin have elected not to participate in the Super GT DCM crossover, if I have remembered that correctly. Don't have anything more to say on the DCM and the Super GT. Nope. Okay.
I'm good.
That's fine, because we're moving on to Formula One.
So, in Formula One, we have had some interesting news this week. It has been confirmed that McLaren will once again use Mercedes engines beginning in 2021. The British marque's previous partnership with Benz lasted from 1995 to 2014 and produced 3 drivers' titles and 1 constructors' championship. Since the partnership ended in 2014, McLaren has gone through a miserable, fruitless tenure with Honda and a lackluster 2 years with Renault. Overall, the Mercedes power plant has proven itself to be the best of the turbo hybrid era, and everyone else has been playing catch-up for the past few years, although I'd argue that Ferrari's ahead this year, but never mind.
Regardless, they are playing catch-up. They have been playing catch-up.
They have been, yeah. This agreement is an important step in our long-term plan to return to success in Formula One, says Zak Brown. Mercedes is the benchmark, both as a team and a power unit, so it's natural that we would seek to secure a relationship with the company for the next phase of our journey. This announcement reflects the confidence of our shareholders and is an important message to our investors, our team, partners and fans that we are committed to returning McLaren to the front of the field. We are delighted to welcome McLaren back to the Mercedes-Benz racing family with this new power unit supply agreement, said Toto Wolff. Although the 2 brands share a prestigious history, this new agreement is all about looking to the future and beginning a new era of power supply for the years ahead. McLaren have been putting in place the building blocks of their revival over recent seasons, including impressive performances this season with Renault Power. We hope that this new long-term agreement marks another milestone for McLaren as they aim to take the fight to the sport's top teams, including our Mercedes Works team.
Changing to Mercedes engines will not solve their problems.
Yeah.
This year, though, they have actually been genuinely impressing me.
Totally. Realistically, it's difficult to judge whether it'll change anything or not because, firstly, we don't know how the Mercedes engines are going to be in 2021. And I'd actually argue that this year the Ferrari power units seem to have caught up or even overtaken the Mercedes power units. The Ferraris just seem to be faster in a straight line and have more grunt and just be better engines, apart from maybe reliability, if that makes sense. So I think, first of all, we're going to have to establish, are Mercedes engines going to be as competitive as they are now in 2021? And secondly, McLaren have far more problems to sort out than that if they want to get back to winning. So hopefully they're aware of that and they're not just, blaming the engine like they did back in the Honda era.
I also need to say hello to a couple of people who are in chat. So, Manly Fan said, I made it. However, considering I know Manly Fan in real life, and I'm going to guess that he's already checked out. We also have Wadey XO48, who has joined me. Wadey is joining us in the chat, and he puts up the, I don't know what you call that.
Devil Horns, rock on!
Yes, Wadey... He commentated with me for the Supercars race at Long Beach in AusNZ combined. He's not doing it this weekend, but he'll probably be in the booth with me for Zolder and the Bathurst 1000. So good to have you along listening to the show, Wadey. But okay, assuming his engine does solve a few problems for McLaren, maybe we'll see McLaren have the sort of success that maybe Williams had in 2014, because they picked up a couple of podiums with that, and that McLaren might be able to pick up a couple of results similar to that. However, there are a few fundamental things that are wrong with McLaren because they just couldn't seem to get it right with anyone. And it definitely wasn't Honda's fault that McLaren did so badly between 2015 and the end of 2017. Yeah, it was 2018 they went to Renault. I mean, because Bull and Toro Rosso have shown that you can do much better with the Honda engine than McLaren ever did, and McLaren were insistent that it was Honda's fault. McLaren have also been underperforming with the Renault engine, so yeah, I mean, there are some fundamental things wrong with the McLaren. It's not just the engine. However, I don't know, maybe the Mercedes engine, a few wonders for them.
And yeah, the problem with McLaren was during the Honda era, they basically built the chassis around they basically built the chassis and said to Honda, right, you build it to our specifications, you try and shoehorn the engine in. That's not how it works.
No, it's most certainly not how it works. You have to build a chassis that the engine's going to work with. And I think that
fit in.
And that's what everyone else has seemingly been able to do. Red Bull was able to do it. Toro Rosso was able to do it. Mercedes...
Hell, even Life was able to do it. Granted, the engine cover fell off, but...
Even Williams has been able to do it, and they've been at the back of the grid the entire year. But the point is, they've been reliable. McLaren, they didn't do it right, and they just blame their problems on every engine supplier they have. I think there are fundamental things wrong with the team, as I've said before. But I don't know. Maybe the Mercedes engine might be what they need. Maybe McLaren will have improved themselves enough to be able to make the Mercedes engine work. I mean, as shown, they are on the way up. They've been improving since 2015. I think they've realized that Honda was not the cause of their problems. They were the cause of their problems. And they're doing stuff to fix it, which is a good thing.
Now they can probably focus also on their IndyCar team and trying actually to qualify for races.
Yeah.
Miss Savageness has come out, but
Savageness has come out. But it might be good times ahead for McLaren.
Yeah, because they've had success with McLaren before. They've had success with Mercedes before. Technically, they were to be a 4-time constructor champion, but 2007 happened. But
yeah, it's interesting how people always say, that it's a dynamic combo because they've won before. But the fact is, the same thing happened with McLaren Honda, and just because you won in the 80s and 90s doesn't mean you can win again now, because a lot's changed since then, and a lot of new people have come and go, and money's gone all over the place. So realistically, realistically, just
Williams
because,
Renault.
Totally. Just because it's McLaren Mercedes doesn't mean that they're gonna win like they did back in the late 90s or early 2000s.
I also want to say that when McLaren, I remember hearing this on Midweek Motorsport, pick that name up, that when McLaren, when they ran the Mercedes engines back in 2014, Mercedes said to them, use the Petronas fuel, but put it in a Mobil 1 barrel because the engine works best with Petronas. And McLaren came back to them and said, no, we want to use Mobil 1. So consequently, the McLarens were they were running the Mercedes engines worst in 2014.
Is that why they were slow?
No, they were running Mobil 1 fuel in an engine that was designed to run Petronas.
That's hilarious.
Apparently.
That is hilarious.
I thought they ran I thought it was 2015. I thought it was 2014 that they ran the first year with Honda.
No, 2015 was the first year with Honda.
2015.
However,
That being said, though, McLaren were able to pick up a podium then.
Yeah.
However, so was Williams and Force India. So
it was the first round of the championship, and actually, not only
it
did
was
they
there.
Yeah, you were there. Not only did they pick up a podium, it was a double podium, and they were leading the championship after the first round. And then it went awfully for the rest of the season, but you know.
Yes, it did. However, I believe McLaren got the opportunity to run some Verizon sponsorship that year, which is pretty good. And one more thing on the McLaren-Mercedes thing. As you'll remember, back in the early 2000s, when McLaren and Mercedes were partnered, they made the absolutely wonderful car, and it's on my wall right now, the McLaren Mercedes SLR. So, McLaren and Mercedes. I mean, I know McLaren's done well with their road cars now, but can we please have another McLaren Mercedes road car? And on that note, I think we should move on to some WRC news, and Chris is very excited about it.
I am. The 2020 World Rally Championship calendar was released, comprising of 14 rounds in all 7 continents. Among the highlights are the addition of Rally Japan and the return of Rally New Zealand and the legendary Safari Rally in Kenya. The Safari Rally makes its return for the first time since 2002, with a rally that was won by Colin McRae in a Ford Focus. New Zealand returns after a 7-year absence. 2012 was the last time with Sebastian Loeb's Citroën DS3 winning, and Japan returns after 10 years away, with the 2010 winner being Sebastian Ogier's Citroën C4.
Why didn't you say Sebastian Ogier?
Because I'm not Tim Gray. Sebastian Ogier. But, now, also, Japan moves from its original base of Hokkaido to Nagoya, and Safari will follow a more compact route structure than previous format, although it will still be a car breaker. Unfortunately, that means that the rallies of Catalunya, Corsica, who chose to be on a rotating schedule, Corsica following logistical concerns, and Rally Australia due to the rally's base being moved to a more regional area instead of a metropolitan area, causing support to slip, have been dropped from the WRC calendar for 2020. Now, all I can say is this. Safari coming back is one of the best things that I've heard in quite some time. Like, it used to be a massive car breaker. It would be one of those races that you would actually see the intake snorkel being used. Basically, the cars would have a snorkel coming out through the hood, through the intake, that would actually basically it was like it's like an old-fashioned rally.
Yes. And now I'm sad that Rally Australia won't be on there, because I know I didn't really watch rallying, but I liked having the option to go to a rally if I wanted to.
Yeah, where exactly was it held?
I have no idea.
Where's Coffs Harbour?
Harbour? Oh.
Do you live near there?
Hold on. I should know this, but Coffs Harbour. Oh, it's in New South Wales. Okay, I thought it might be in New South Wales. From here, let's get some directions. I'm on Google Maps, by the way. It's 5 hours and 30 minutes away.
Well, New
Right.
South Wales is a big state.
That's a no-go.
Yes, New South- well, I don't know. Maybe one day I might have wanted to go, but
Well, the thing is, the Coffs Harbour Rally will still exist as part of the Australian Rally Championship, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting seeing how the new WRC cars handle the one of the best rallies in the world.
something tells me that Valtteri Bottas might be doing a rally.
Yeah, the thing I don't like about spectating rallies is surely you only see them once and then they're gone, and then you have to go to the next stage hoping that it's not already finished, and it's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
And
but Valtteri Bottas, because he's been doing testing with Toyota Gazoo, I think that was in a WRC car. Who knows? We might even see the flying Finn on the grid this year.
well, you think Finland,
Or next
you
year,
automatically you think rally driver, you automatically think of Finland.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the calendar looks Finland. And we've just gained a whole lot of SpongeBob followers.
Has anyone else ever heard the that's like a really silly song which goes, Finland, 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 the country where I want to be, with your mountains so lofty. That one, like, I don't know. It's
I can't say I have.
okay. It's really weird.
I don't think I have.
I used to have it on a CD, and the guy who sings it isn't even finished, so it's weird. But yeah.
And
so tall.
okay, so here's the calendar. From the 23rd to the 26th of January is, of course, the start at Monte Carlo. Then Rally Sweden from the 13th to the 16th of February. Mexico from the 12th to the 15th of March. Chile from the 16th to the 19th of April, and there is actually some chili cooking downstairs, in fact, in my house. Argentina is April 30th to the 3rd of May. Then Portugal on the 21st to 24th of May. Italy from the 4th to 7th of June. Then the Safari Rally at the 16th to the 19th of July. Finland, home of the greatest rally drivers, on the 6th to the 9th of August. New Zealand, 3rd to the 6th of September. Turkey, ha 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 ha.
Oh my goodness.
Had to. 24th to the 27th of September. Germany, October 15th to 18th. Wales Rally GB on the 29th of October to the 1st of November, and then finishing off from the 19th to the 22nd of November in Japan.
Hey.
I was gonna say, Chris, the way you say turkey like that, and you have to every single time. I was handling a turkey in college the other day, and all I could think of was turkey, ha ha ha.
Thanks. Oh, wait, and you know what was even funnier, actually? I can't remember when this was. It was a few months back, and I went to Manly. And
You, Manly? Huh. I'm joking, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Jack, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I didn't mean that.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, right. Sorry, I'm having mind blanks. Anyway, I went there, and it's of course a beach. There's beaches there, and I was on a beach, and I saw a bush turkey, and it was named something you take to the beach. Turkey.
Oh, that's amazing.
name something you take with
There
the
was a turkey on the beach. So technically, that was correct.
And,
Right.
and it is a food often stuffed.
It is.
Turkey.
Turkey. Right. We move on from our random conversations about Turkey.
The audience
And
does
if you're
not
ready
get
with
this at all. They do not have a clue what we're going on about here.
No, it's family fortunes. Anyway, if you are ready with the jingle,
I'm not ready with the jingle.
we need to continue
Well,
with
you
our
got some
conversation
time.
about.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Miscellaneous stories and points that we missed, and therefore recovering now TM. Boom.
I should have been playing a game that I could actually pause. Anyway, there we go. Done.
Hey, wait, are you playing a game
Yes.
right now?
Don't we all play a game during the podcast, or?
Oh, I'm on the document when we're doing the podcast.
But
Don't
I multitask.
But then you're
Don't
just staring
take
at a
up-
page for the whole time. I'm playing Slitherio.
Oh wow! And then you had Joshua Franks that was actually league racing last week. That makes That makes me think. I used to league race in this time slot. I'm going to get back into Sunday morning league racing and do the podcast at the same time.
No.
Anyway,
No.
oh my goodness! Right. Anyway, right. It's time for miscellaneous stories and points that we have missed, and therefore covering now. TM Bing, and we have some actually really cool news. Really cool news. And I think I'll let Chris tell us about this one.
Yes, I actually saw this live, in fact. Joseph Newgarden has turned laps in an Indy car at the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval and was clocked 13 seconds faster than William Byron's pole time for tomorrow's race, clocking a 1 minute 7 second lap time.
So he was
May I
probably
just
going for
say, he was on the Reds.
it. Nice.
He was on the red compound as well. Can I just say,
No.
Chris's
Can I
freedom of
just-
speech has been restricted, and we never thought this podcast would get that political.
we right wingers now, boys.
Oh, not all-
free speech.
not all free speech advocates are right wing, but that's a story for another time.
No,
Anyway,
just 95% of them. But anyway, anyway, first of all, that was excellent. Second of all, can I just say, IndyCar, NASCAR, and hopefully IMSA, please do a triple header at the Roval.
Can you imagine IMSA
That-
at the Roval? That's ridiculous.
They've done it before.
awesome.
They've done it before.
What?
Keep in mind, they've done it before.
The
American
Roval's been
Le
around
Mans
for ages.
series.
Well, yeah.
The
but it was
Roval's been around.
But it was a very.
They ran
different
from
Roval.
19. Yeah, they ran from 19. Not really. They ran from 1973 to 1986. IMSA did. Then Then they did the American Le Mans Series race in 2000.
That's a ridiculous story.
Awesome
And
thought.
and have an IMSA, have a 2.5 hour or actually 100-minute IMSA race. That would be perfect.
You know what the Roval reminds me
It
of?
would be lovely.
You know when you go into a car park and there's like this spiral staircase thing for cars that go
Oh, yeah,
not a
it's a-
staircase, but just a spiral for cars that goes round and round. There's bits of it that remind me of that. Like it's about that narrow. It's got elevation changes that look that forced. It's just I don't know. I genuinely can't imagine. I can't imagine NASCAR going there, even though they do. Let alone IndyCar or even IMSA.
Hopefully they do. Hopefully, I really want IndyCar to go there. I'd love IMSA to go there, though. It'd be absolutely a modern IMSA to go there, though. It'd be absolutely awesome.
It'd be a meme fest.
Wouldn't it though? Like, and also like, they don't even have to run that last chicane. In years past, they would like that chicane wasn't there, so they basically went like the prototype, like the old BMW prototype that won in 2000. I know I just said old BMW V12 LMR as old.
It's older than me, Chris. It's older than me.
So it's older than me too.
Well, I remember watching it live. I'm old. I'm going to be 31 on Tuesday, but
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
oh my goodness. But I had to.
We're gonna do something special on the Tuesday. What day
I'm
is
not
that? Is
sure.
that the? That'll be
It's
the
Tuesday.
second. No, that'll be the 2nd of October, won't it? Hold on.
No, it's the first.
No, it's the 1st. Yeah, okay, 1st of October. Got to remember that.
And like they used to go 190 miles an hour shooting into turn 1, like that 90-degree corner. In the BMW. 200 if you were in a GTP car back in 1986. Yeah, it was fantastic, and like one of the best. Genuinely one of the best. Genuinely, like
The best races.
I think absolutely, and I think if they have a NASCAR, an IndyCar, like one of those, like an IndyCar All-Star race, like the old Marlboro Challenge, and an IMSA, like 100-minute sprint race on the same bill, that would be the absolute perfect.
So
That would
imagine
be the perfect weekend.
you could have
Like,
Elio
run IMSA
Castroneves. You could have Elio Castroneves. Who else is one? Pablo Montoya and a few other guys that could come back to race at the Roval or something in an all-star race, as you said.
Or AJ Allmendinger.
AJ Allmendinger, yeah.
Like have like IMSA
Mario
and Xfinity
Andretti.
run on. Well,
He would do it if you gave him the option to do it. Mario Andretti would 100% do it.
Yeah,
He would.
totally. No, he would.
I genuinely would love to see that. But have IMSA and Xfinity run on Saturday. Like IMSA first, then the Xfinity series, then run the IndyCar All-Star race, or and then the Cup race on the oval. Or I just thought of something: have a triple feature, the 100 minutes in prime time on NBC, right after the 6 o'clock news.
6 o'clock news. Anyway, right.
That would be like under the lights, I may add.
Yeah.
Be perfect. Be
You know,
perfect.
we can only dream for the time being. So let's move on to something that's actually happened now, because Toro Rosso wants to change their name to AlphaTauri for 2020, which is a stupid name.
Really? What does AlphaTauri mean?
Ford Taurus.
They want to change their name to Ford Taurus. Excellent.
But it's not Alpha as in Alfa Romeo, it's Alpha as in the Greek syllable. That's gonna get confusing with Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri on the Greek. What does AlphaTauri mean? Is it like, oh, is that like Alpha Bull? Because okay, so
It's a stupid name. They want to change that. Like they're trying to get it
AlphaTauri.
approved. They want to get it approved. Situations changed, but
what's wrong with Toro Rosso?
what's wrong with Toro Rosso? It's a brilliant name, and I love the sort of the correlation, because Red Bull, it's Red Bull, and Toro Rosso is just Red Bull in Italian. I love it. It's fantastic. So why Toro Rosso? Why do you want to change it? It's a stupid name. Don't do
It's
it.
because it's a fashion brand extended to the Red Bull corporation.
Oh, that does make sense. That does make sense.
It's the AlphaTauri, according to Wikipedia. According to the Wikipedia Britannica, is a fashion brand that was founded in 2016 as a brand extension of Red Bull
Oh, that does make sense.
into the fashion industry.
That makes
The
more
name
business...
is taken.
Sorry, yeah, that makes more business sense than Toro Rosso does.
Yeah, the name is taken from Alpha Tauri, the giant red star of the Taurus constellation,
Right.
and pays tribute to the founding company, Red Bull. Its headquarters are based in Salzburg, Austria. All I
Looking
can
at some of-
say is... Good.
Looking at some of the images of AlphaTauri, I'm not sure whether I can't decide whether their clothes are nice or whether they're boring.
Let's see. I haven't actually seen any of them, so
And this is all news to me, by the way. I mean,
not a sponsor of Motorsport recently, obviously.
no. Because I wouldn't have just called them.
$249 for a hooded sweatshirt.
What's $249 for a hooded sweatshirt? That's ridiculous.
€249 for a hooded sweatshirt.
Euros? You having a laugh?
That's hilarious.
I'm not having a laugh. Like,
My goodness.
if this was sale of the century, okay, like they all look gray and bland and like they all look like a wash bag.
I don't get things
And,
like that, but whatever the case, it does make more business sense than calling it Toro Rosso does. So I expect that that's
Oh
probably...
god, there's going to be gray cars.
I agree. Can you imagine if their entire aesthetic, like they just painted their car like a jumper?
Oh my gosh.
This
Take
is
a
the,
look at the.
this is
Take
the
a look at the.
This is the AlphaTauri, the AlphaTauri STR sweater. That's what we're calling the next one.
Hold on, we need some Toro Rosso branded AlphaTauri stuff, but I mean, I don't know, maybe as a tribute to the past team, maybe I'd consider buying that. Anyway, should we move on to some IMSA news because this is good.
Sure.
It's fantastic news. Juncos is returning for Petit Le Mans.
Oh no.
And
Hey.
I am genuinely glad to see that.
Didn't we last see them
Something good.
crashing at Motorsport?
Motorsport.
Yeah.
Yes, they
Yeah.
did. Crashing
great.
spectacularly at Motorsport.
And is that why they couldn't drive for a while? Because they didn't have the funds?
One of the reasons, yeah. Car was completely ruined.
Well, that's great to hear that they're back.
Right? We have
And
some British racing news as well.
Oh
Something more
yes.
about the Juncos thing.
David Coulthard has been elected as the president of the British Racing Drivers Club. That's good. Coulthard is a very, very wise driver. I've always noticed that the Scottish drivers are very wise. They just, they're all like grandfathers. No disrespect to their driving talents, of course. They don't drive like grandfathers. But yeah, no, I think Coulthard's going to do a great job with that. He knows what he's looking for.
Make the BRDC great again.
oh god. And we're off the air.
Is that his presidential campaign? That's hilarious.
I don't know, it might be. Anyway, also, we're going to finish the day with some Formula E news, and that's that Mitch Evans has signed a new deal with Jaguar. So that means he'll be staying with the team for the 2019-20 ABB Formula E season. And I'm not sure why you'd fire Mitch Evans because he does a fantastic job at Jaguar anyway.
How do they even write the contract? Like, Jaguars only have paws. Surely it's you need like opposable thumbs to write properly. That doesn't make any sense.
Oh my goodness! I don't even know how to respond to that. So I think
It's just a big cat.
we should probably just end. We should probably just end now. And on that note, it is time to end. Do we have credits or no?
No, sorry, Jack. Unless you don't mind me playing the one from a couple of weeks ago.
With Joshua Franks in it.
I'm not sure
Because
if
he's
it
not
does.
in this one.
I'm not sure if it does or not. Well,
Okay, never mind. We could just leave it.
We've told you already that that Joshua Franks isn't in this podcast. So if you see his name, pretend that you didn't. Okay.
All right, we may as well run it then. So on that
All right.
note, it is time to end. Thank you very much for tuning in. Like, subscribe. Oh, actually, no, I should say thank you to people first of all before I end this.
Thanks.
But thank you very much to Chris Whitfield, the wonderful Chris Whitfield, and Caitlin Penny Commentary for joining me on the mic today. Thank you very much to Finnick Arrow for making the graphic you're seeing on screen now. Link to his page in the description below. And on that note, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
See ya.
Ta-ra!
Now I need to find where the credits are. Credits, show yourself.
Oh.
No, those are weird scenes from previous videos. That's... What the heck? I'm showing loads of weird old things. I've got no idea what I'm doing. Okay, oh no.
Weird old
What is happening? What is happening on screen?
I have no idea and I'm so sorry. Okay, bye everyone, bye!
Ta-ra!